In 40 years of photography, I'd like to think I've learned to recognize the real deal. And you don't get any better or realer than Alys Tomlinson. She's the only photographer to win the Sony and the Taylor Wessing. We made this interview, it's only a quick one, back in the summer. And we went into the nitty-gritty about how she won these awards. Hope you enjoy. Alys is a multiple accolade-winning photographer who is reluctant to define herself using those sorts of barometers. Why is that? Most people enter the Taylor Wessing. Most people sort of go home that walk of shame, feeling that that year was a complete failure. And you managed to not only get into the competition but win it. I mean, that's something that is sort of something I might daydream about. And then on top of that, you've made a feature film and you've won the Sony, the big prize, which kind of all came together after years, decades of struggle.
Yeah.
Well, not struggle. Makes it sound really bad, but
Of failure.
no, you put the time in. You put the time. It wasn't an
I certainly
overnight thing.
persevered. I suppose I have an uncomfortable relationship with awards and competitions. So, yeah, in many ways, I've done really well, and they've provided me with fantastic exposure. But I also am aware that even with the same body of work, a different year, a different jury, different judges could be an extremely different outcome. So I would say I take it with a pinch of salt because I'm aware that it's what many people dream of. And I think I did as well to an extent, but I'm also aware that I've been lucky. Yeah, I do think the work is strong, but I also have been lucky to a degree with the timing with the jury that year. So this Taylor Wessing's funny because for many years I was rejected. I'd get through to one round and then not go any further. And then I did actually have one image from Ex Voto in it, I think I can't remember, 2018. That was actually fantastic because Sean O'Hagan, the photography critic from The Guardian,
he was very complimentary.
He was really complimentary, and we then developed a relationship. He's been a really big supporter of my work and wrote the essay, one of the essays in the book Ex Voto. So it did lead to opening up connections like that. And Sean's been a fantastic advocate of my work and has become a bit of a mate as well. So that's been great. But I just think it's a lottery. I think competitions and awards are a lottery. But I also do think if you make strong work and you believe in it and you persevere, that it can get noticed via awards and competitions. So it's not to say that they're useless. It's not to say that they're lacking in value. But I also think that the amount of kind of pressure we put on ourselves to get into these and to see these as some barometer of success is not a very healthy way of looking at our work or the photography industry, really.
So how do you define success?
I think it's difficult. I mean, for me, it's making work that is meaningful to me, but also has some impact on other people, that other people find something in it. And not everyone's going to understand your work or think it's any good. I remember after the Taylor Wessing, in fact, I was on some Facebook group of photographers and there were loads of people, I can't believe this boring work has won the award. Like,
really?
There's nothing interesting. And it's quite hard reading that criticism of your work. But in the end, I felt that for that series, I'd depicted the teenagers I was photographing in a sensitive way, in a really respectful way. I thought it was a incredibly difficult but fundamentally important moment in their lives. And there was something about their kind of loss and their longing that I had managed to capture. So for me, the work held a lot of meaning, but I also get that other people aren't always going to see that in the work. So for me, success it's not about how many competitions you win or how many books you publish, but it's making work that is fulfilling personally to me, but that also resonates with other people. Particularly with Ex Voto, my project about pilgrimage, I've had, and actually with the film that I've now made, I've had people in tears, like either looking at the work or after the film. And when that happens, when you get that kind of reaction and response, you kind of start thinking, well, maybe I am actually provoking something, provoking an emotional reaction in people. And to me, that's reaching a level of success in your practice. It depends how you define it. If you define it by making money, I'm very unsuccessful. If you define it by winning awards, I suppose I'm quite successful. But for me, it's about making work that I feel I'm actually doing something important that could perhaps not change lives, but change people's idea of what photography is, perhaps, or
Mm.
the power that photography can hold and the influence it can have on us.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures you did of the kids who didn't get to attend their prom, I thought were very, very profound,
Thank you.
and I did sort of recommend them as my sort of favorite response to the challenges of the pandemic, because I sort of felt that they weren't showy, they weren't about you showing off your photographic chops. They were calm, humble, like yourself, and they kind of they were more complex at repeated viewing,
Mm,
and I thought that was a really wonderful way to approach what was for everyone a kind of very discombobulating period
mm,
in kind of human history, and actually they the pictures have so much dignity, and so there's a serenity there, and I think they do kind of tie in with the rest of your work. And I think for me, a photographer is about having a consistency of vision, having a unique visual fingerprint, and they're very much part of your oeuvre, which has that sort of element of spirituality and ritual. um,
yeah, I'm definitely drawn to stillness, even in photographing someone, portrait, where you're trying to capture some essence of who they are, but there's also a kind of quietness there. And that's the kind of portraiture that I really love. And
mm,
I kind of hope that some of the portraits I make you want to look and kind of look again, and you see something else in the
yeah.
portraits. And that was true with the Lost Summer pictures, which was all the
Mm,
teenagers locally who'd missed out on their prom. So they were the Taylor Wessing images, where they're all dressed up for kind of the prom that never happened.
mm,
But what I really loved about that project was that I was able to build quite an intimate relationship with each of the teenagers I photographed, and it was just the two of them, and I'd kind of wheel over my 5-4 suitcase and turn up in their local park or garden or backyard, and I taught them through the process, because also a lot of these teenagers they were quite astonished by this camera. They'd never
mm,
seen anything like it.
mm,
And they'd go under the dark cloth and I'd show them how everything was upside down and back to front. And it's the antithesis of their their what they're exposed to in terms of image making now, which is fast, fast, fast pictures,
mm,
many pictures at a time,
mm,
selfie sticks, selfies. So getting this almost like antiquated looking camera and feeling that they were a part of that, and it
mm,
became more of an exchange and a collaboration, they responded really well to that. And I
mm,
think, and I hope that comes through in the images, that there was a certain level of understanding between us. And because of that, I was able to portray this kind of quiet resilience that they all had, which was
mm,
what I was surprised by in many ways, particularly with all there's a lot of press, particularly in North London, about kind of knife crime and gun crime and the problems that all these teenagers are
mm,
having. And actually, the ones I met were really sensitive, really mature, and
mm,
dealing with this kind of global catastrophe,
mm.
like in a very measured way, actually, and were had this inner strength that I wanted to come through.
I mean, it also shows the inadequacy of the internet for viewing. So those comments were probably from people looking on Instagram and
Possibly,
not
yeah.
actually being faced, and actually having to confront the quiet kind of power of those pictures when you see an actual bromide print,
Mm, mm,
printed from a 5:4 negative.
mm,
It's really quite something, isn't it? It's
mm.
a bit like Avedon's in the American
Oh, well,
West,
that's an amazing
I mean,
series. Yeah, yeah,
they have to be seen sort of
yeah,
in a gallery setting,
yeah.
or in a book, because they don't really doesn't really do them justice. You only get one good picture a year. You get a humdinger,
Mhm.
and your picture of the Orthodox nun, is probably one of your most iconic images, and it is a kind of
That didn't get
very.
into the Taylor Wessing,
Yeah,
by
well,
the way.
exactly. Well, I can give you an example. My
Yeah.
shot of Baroness Thatcher in
Mm.
2007, which ended up being quite iconic, with her eyes closed, and
Oh,
it's like a
yeah.
death mask.
I know exactly
That
the
didn't get
image.
into the Taylor
Right,
Wessing.
yeah.
My picture of Michael Hutchence,
Oh, the
97,
balcony
on the
one.
balcony, that
Yeah.
didn't get into the
Right.
Taylor Wessing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, some of our kind of, proudest moments,
yeah.
haven't made it, if you like.
Or my picture of Larry the cat this year from 10
Ah,
Downing Street, which is actually, I'll show you the
right,
picture. It's a really
okay.
good picture.
Yeah,
That
I'd like
didn't
to see
get
it.
it. Didn't-
Right. Well, Larry the cat didn't make it. Yeah, that's how
Mm.
unpredictable it is.
I looked at the trailer for your film,
Oh, yeah, Mother
and
Vera.
you've really it's wonderful the way you've managed to sort of actually bring your eye and your
Mm.
vision into a different medium. And you were telling us that you shot them on digital.
All on the Sonys, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that film, I didn't think I was ever gonna make a film, and that's a co-directed film, so I've worked with Cecile Edmonton on that, who actually used to assist me on Ex Voto years ago. So we've worked together for many years, and we had a real understanding of this world of the spiritual, of these sacred spaces, of these pilgrimage sites that we worked at for years. So if and she's actually a filmmaker, so that entire film came from that one portrait of Mother Vera, the one that didn't get
Mm.
into the Taylor Wessing.
Mm.
Not that I'm
Let it
bitter.
go.
Yeah, let it go. Okay. So that, yeah, I mean, that's a really good example of how one almost spontaneous but compelling encounter can lead to something else entirely.
Mm.
Because I remember when I took that photograph of her with the 5.4 camera, and she looked extraordinary, and I knew
Mm.
there was something extremely like special about her from the moment I spotted her at this pilgrimage site in Poland. But it's amazing to me that 6 years down the line there's a feature length film about her
Mm.
life and about her struggles as well. It's very much about the difficulties she has adjusting to life in the convent as well, and her past and her history. But yeah, a large part of the film is trying to continue the aesthetic that I've created in my still photography
Mm.
into moving image. But that the film is an example of very much two people coming together. So there's no
Mm.
way I could have done that on my own. Like as co-directors, we
Mm.
worked really
How did you
closely.
find that process? Did you have enough of a shared vision that there wasn't too much conflict?
There was some conflict, but actually the conflict, well, not the conflict exactly, but the difficulties came after, more in the editing. So the
Mm.
actual filming trips, we worked really well together because I'm much more of a quiet observer, and Cecile is very emotionally intuitive. So she kind of wants to get in on the action, not
Mm.
always, but she was doing a lot of the kind of fluid camera work. And then there were moments when I was doing some of the stiller camera work and the more observational, like from a distance shots. So actually, the two ways of us working complemented each other very
Mm.
well. So the kind of difficulties came more in how we were presenting Vera's story
Mm.
in the edit, which took a really long time. And there were a couple of creative decisions that we tussled over a bit. But I think that happens. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing any of my photography projects with another photographer.
Mm.
Like it's going to cause some disruption. But in the end, I think we've made a film that we're really, really proud of.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, but it
What?
wasn't always straightforward.
Yeah. How can people see the film?
So the film, it's been touring festivals. So it's called Mother Vera. It's been touring festivals for about a year, and actually we're hoping to have a theatrical release in the UK in September
Brilliant.
2025. So in a couple
Yeah.
of months. Yeah,
Yeah.
small theatrical, just at a few like Picture House cinemas, hopefully the ICA, and yeah, we'll have maybe 10 to
I'll
15
be there.
screenings. Brilliant, hope so.
So, is this the start of a new chapter? Are you? Do you? And will you work with her again?
I think for me, I never expected to make a film, and if that's the only film I make, I'm kind of quite happy with that because I mean, the amount of time, the difficulties in funding, like we've basically funded it ourselves. Um, I would say it's even harder than trying to shape a career in photography, like documentary
Mm.
filmmaking, unless you've got like private funds
Mm.
or
Louis Theroux producing or
yeah,
something.
exactly. Big names on board, or you
Mm.
get a commission from Netflix or something. But trying to make an independent documentary film is extremely hard.
Mm.
So this happened. It felt like it was fate or something. This film because it came absolutely from meeting Vera. So I
Mm.
think unless I met someone else who kind of had that like effect on me,
Mm.
and I felt really compelled to follow their story, and didn't feel that I could do that just through stills, then possibly not. But I
Mm.
don't know. Who knows? I mean, it was really it felt like a true collaboration, that film, and it felt like it was two people's ideas and vision kind of merging very strongly. But I don't think I see myself as a filmmaker in the future.